Hey, good morning. Good morning. Ooh, I love that worked. Sometimes they have a little YouTube trouble. Good morning. Thanks for being here, everybody. I'm Erin from Girl Catch Fire, and we're doing Southern Arizona edition this morning. I move around a lot, and I travel a lot, so these will often happen wherever I happen to be. So, welcome. Thanks for being here. I run a little company called Girl Catch Fire, and we help women in midlife get unstuck and on purpose and moving into joy and impact as they build their happy second half. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving week and had some time with friends and family. So I got a lot to say today, so we're going to just jump right in. We had a lot to talk about this morning, so welcome. And if you are just joining, go ahead and just drop your name and where you are in the chat, because I like to see who's here. So today we're talking about definiteness of purpose, which is a weird way of saying that, but there's a reason I'm saying it like that. Being definite about what you're up to with the second half of your life. And I was thinking about this a couple days ago because years ago, I read a book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Maybe you've read it. Same guy that wrote Think and Grow Rich. And what's so great, that book is 100 years old. And what's so great about those books is that they're so good at talking about the how. Like when you have something that you're clear on, there's nobody better than to help you figure out how to execute that thing. And but I realized when I was listening to them, I was like, that's really great. But what happens if you don't know what the purpose is? Like you don't know what it is that you want to go after. You feel stuck and aimless and lost, like many of the women that I work with at midlife do. So I thought, that's great. The how is wonderful and very important, but boy, we really got to work on the what and the why. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. Can seem like something that is optional in your second half, but I would submit to you that it absolutely is not. It's critically important to figure out what it is you want to do with the second half of your life, because the truth is we're living so much longer. You could have 40, 50 years left on this planet. What do you want to do with it? So that's what we're going to talk about today and why it matters. Most of the women that I work with in midlife feel this way. They're like, I don't feel like myself. I have lost my vision. I don't have energy. I don't enjoy things I used to enjoy, etc. And so that's why this matters. We got to talk about that. So anyway, thanks for joining Monday Morning Mindset. If this is you, I hope this helps you today. So it's obvious why people feel this way, because if you think about it, in the first half of your life, you've got a pretty good roadmap for what's coming next, right? So you go to school, maybe you get married, then you have some kids, and then, you've got your career, and it's just a very clear path through life. And then, well, you kind of hit midlife, but you can really start anywhere 45 to 60, somewhere in there, and your kids graduated from school, or and they headed out, moved out, went off to college, you maybe got divorced. All sorts of things happen in midlife that can be really jarring to your identity, and the maps aren't quite so clear. So it's easy to start thinking about, like, oh my gosh, what is next? And here's what most people don't understand about midlife is that the first half of your life has this kind of clear roadmap, like what you do. You're setting up who you are in the world, your construct, what you do, who you are, etc. And then something changes and you hit this midlife dip where everything kind of goes gray and flat, and you're not real sure who you are apart from your history and the roles that you have played. And that makes so much sense. Well, what most people don't know and why midlife feels crummy is because that there's a second mountain, right? So you climbed your first mountain and maybe you wandered off or got knocked off, and you find yourself in this gray valley. And if you don't know that there's a second mountain full of purpose, full of relationship and community, and building interesting things that are really aligned with who you were before the world told you who to be, it can be frustrating. So, but there is a second mountain, okay? And so we talk about second mountain around here a lot, which is why I wanted to bring it up this morning. So if you're in this place, this midlife place that's like, oh my gosh, this feels terrible, chances are you're thinking, well, I guess this is it. But it's not. Okay, you have a whole second mountain to climb. Um, and it's about your purpose and who you want to be in the world, what you want to do before you go. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so I had to set this up. So, but I want to bring some balance when we talk about your purpose for your second mountain, because a couple years ago, Liz Gilbert, who's an author that I love, Eat, Pray, Love fame, she said, I feel like I'm getting purpose anxiety. Like, isn't the fact that I'm alive and here and enjoying my life enough? And the answer is, of course it is. Of course it is. But a lot of people feel what she called purpose anxiety, and like, oh, I have to do something big and I have to do something splashy with the second half of my life. And to me, the way we avoid that pitfall is to recognize that um, having like this sense that you need to achieve to be loved, you need to achieve to have value, you need to perform for love. That's all very first half of life thinking. Okay. And so if you start approaching your second mountain in a first mountain way, like, oh, I don't know if people are going to criticize me. I don't know if I will be loved. I have to perform and achieve big things in order to be loved. I know this is hitting for some of you. That's first mountain. So the hallmarks of living on purpose and in kind of a first mountain way is that it's harried. There's you're worried. It's frantic. There's anxiety, and it gives credence to this idea that I am what I do, and I'm only valuable if I'm performing. Well, I wouldn't want to do that either. Don't do that. Let me be very clear. When we talk about your purpose for the second half of your life, that is not what we're talking about around here. And I want to make a clear distinction, because it's an easy trap to fall into, especially if you never did the midlife work of dropping the bags that you don't need anymore for your second climb. I'm going to say that again, because part of the function of the midlife dip, when things feel hard and scary and flat and gray, is to recognize that the first half of your life, it's great, but it's over. And it's time to do something different. And you may need to actually drop some of the bags you've been carrying, release some of the tools that you have used in the past that aren't working so great anymore, and pick up new ones. That's why we call midlife as base camp. It's a base camp for your second mountain climb. Okay. So one solution to this feeling that you may have at midlife, that I don't know what I'm doing, I feel so stuck and off purpose and things are gray, is to get on purpose, right? But not to do it in an anxious way, not to do it in a first mountain way. So what this means is just like creating something or chasing something that feels meaningful and important to you, not anybody else, right? Not caring what other people think, not doing something for approval. I'm just going to let that one sink in for a minute. Okay, so here's some features of having a definite purpose on your second mountain. If you've been with me for a long time, you're like, yeah, I know all this. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but are you doing it? So this second mountain purpose, right? One that is not anxious or harried or worried or frantic or performative or all these things. It's not that. Here's what it might look like. You're not doing it for applause. In a first mountain, in our first half of life, we spend so much time performing for applause. Well, we stop doing that. Okay. It not always, but often is very communal. It includes others. It serves others. And there's some peace to it and some joy. Okay. Those are the sort of the hallmarks of a second mountain purpose. That's what we want. That's what we're going after. Okay. So that's why in our work, we spend so much time doing some of this stuff, thinking this stuff through in a really meditative and calm way, is to really draw out what it is that lights you up and feels important to you now. Not 20 years ago, now. What feels important to you now? Who are you apart from your history and the roles that you have played? When's the last time you asked yourself that question? Who am I apart from my history and the roles that I have played? It's a good question to ask. Maybe focus on that one this week, right? To kind of start stirring the pot on, yeah, I might have another 30 years here. What do I want to do with it? All right. So Father Richard Rohr, who's someone I read, he was paraphrasing the catechism, like the Catholic training. And He said, your purpose in life is to enjoy God and bring him glory. How do you like that? Now, I know some of you don't have the same faith grid that I do, and that's fine. You don't need to. But boy, that gives me a lot of latitude to just kind of go through my days enjoying God and bringing him glory. That's why I'm sitting outside right now. That's why I'm in this beautiful place in the desert right now, just enjoying God and bringing him glory. Is this work that I'm doing in my life right now, is that bringing God glory? I think so. Am I enjoying God today by sitting out on the patio? Yeah, right? So this can feel very purposeful. So I would ask you that question. However you want to frame it in your religious grid, how do you enjoy God and bring him glory? It's an interesting question, right? You can ask yourself that. It's a very purpose-oriented question. Okay, so let's agree that when we are talking about purpose, we are not talking about how we did purpose in the first half of our life. We're talking about this second half purpose that is rich and slow and communal and service-oriented, based on love and joy and acceptance of yourself and others. That's what second mountain purpose is about. Okay, does that make sense? All right, I'm going to say this quickly because this is so important. I don't want you to miss it. Why this is so important. It's easy to think, our culture would say, oh, you're fine. If you're sad, just go shopping or medicated or whatever. The reason this is so important, and I have recently kind of stumbled on this, and I think it's important to share, is that, did you know that women between the ages of 40 to 60 have the highest rate of depression of any age group or gender? That's according to the Centers for Disease Control. Women 40 to 60 have the highest rate of depression of any age or gender group. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is top water. Estrogen, when it declines, does crazy things to your emotional wellness, your anxiety and depression being hallmarks of perimenopause and like estrogen deprivation. Okay, so if you're like really a little bit stunned that your emotional wellness seems off, okay, it could be your hormones. And please, I would invite you to go get some education about that. I'm going to link Dr. Mary Claire Haver's Instagram page down here. She's a OBGYN in Houston who's taught me everything I know about menopause. And so I'm going to link that below. Please understand that you don't have to just put up with that. There's things that you can do. So go get educated. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, being off purpose and lost and stuck and aimless is depressing. Right? Did you know also, according to the CDC, that the suicide rate among women 45 to 64 increased 63% since 1999? Oh my gosh. Again, menopause probably has something to do with that. But I think a lot of that has to do with just feeling invisible and lost and stuck and off purpose. So this is why it matters. This is why you would say it really matters for me to figure out what the purpose of my life is right now. And the way we do it around here is we don't figure out the next 30 years. We just figure out the next 3, maybe 6, maybe 12 months, because that's just a smaller bite and it makes more sense. I was curious about this. I'm like, this can't be right. So I asked ChatGPT, which is, right about everything, I think. And ChatGPT said the number one problem that women 40 to 60 are trying to solve, the number one problem is loss of identity and purpose. So if that's you and you're feeling like, I don't know what's wrong with me, that's what's wrong with you. Wrong with you, come on, right? It's this loss of identity and purpose. And I thought it would be money. It's not. It's not. The second one is emotional wellness. So there you go. That's a lot of the hormones and whatnot, but that's the second biggest concern, emotional wellness. Third one is relationships, and fourth is career and money. So I would submit to you guys that it's absolutely critical to figure out what purpose means to you in your second half. Don't wait for it to fall on you like rice at a wedding. Get busy figuring it out, okay? Because, being on purpose and having clear goals and a plan and getting up in the morning and getting after them, it feels good. Releases a dope hit in your brain. When you're making progress on stuff, your brain gives you a little dope hit, right? So again, I'm not interested in performing or getting applause or whatever. What I'm interested in is using my life, is enjoying God in my life that he gave me and bringing him glory and doing that kind of stuff every day. And what that looks like practically is this business that I run. It looks like spending a week with my parents in Southern Arizona. It looks like being present to my friends and my family. It looks like serving in my community in meaningful ways. Okay. That are those are the hallmarks of a second half purpose. So my question for you is this morning, I want you to think about this week. Take a little inventory of your life. Like, what is my life like right now? How on purpose am I in my physical body, in my emotional wellness, in my vision for the future, in my work, in my relationships? How on purpose am I in these areas? So, and the other thing I want you to understand, if you don't take anything away from today, take this, is that there's something that only you can do. And let's get about doing that thing. And if you don't know what it is, that's fine. That's what we do, is we help people figure that out. But there's something only you can do. And you actually are at the peak and the height of your capabilities right now, your skill set, your experience, your knowledge, your all the work that you've been doing. Here you are. It's not for nothing. There's something for you in the second half of your life. And let's get that out. Let's not waste it, right? So think about your purpose. Think about what on purpose looks like for you in the second half of your life this week. We're going to be here every week talking about it, helping you kind of get unstuck and on purpose, and setting your mind for the week. So I hope you have a good one. I'll see you next Monday. Bye.